Welcome back, Spartans, after a restful 2-week break. This is Season 6, Episode 17 of the Spartan Times. First up, did anyone notice the rising in gas prices? Natalia's here to give us some information and how it is affecting us.
Viewers, I'm sure that some of you have been to the store and noticed that certain themes have increased in prices. For example, Dollar Tree, where everything was $1, is now $1.25. That is because of inflation. Well, what's inflation, I hear you ask? Well, inflation is increase in cost of goods and services. And this got me wondering, has inflation affected people? And if so, how? And this is what I found.
Okay, so inflation affects all of us, especially those of us in the lower percentages.
Well, I think we have to be smarter about how we're spending our money. Things are going up, prices are going up, and of course we still all have the general needs that we need to do, make sure pay our bills and have food on the table. So you just have to be smarter. You can't go out and just spend money like crazy anymore.
It affected me really positive and negative because at lunch, like at the stands, whoever is selling a product is usually up and down. Like for the Gatorades, one teacher sells them for $2, but another teacher sells Coke and Sprite for $1.
Well, inflation has affected many, but I'm sure you're wondering, what are the causes of inflation? The causes of inflation are many things. The most common being the demand pull inflation, meaning buyers are willing to pay higher for the thing. And the second being the cost push inflation. That's when supply is restricted but not in demand. A third cause is the counting built-in inflation. That's when the prices rise, labor expects an increase in wages to keep up. But the higher wages increase the cost of production and the cost of prices of goods and services to rise. Now I wondered, who handles the inflation?
Likely due to or controlled by the Federal Reserve and the government in charge of that.
The government, because the government loves money.
Well, I think it's kind of a combination of everything that has happened. I mean, the government has to learn how to, or help with controlling the cost of certain energy bills and stuff like that. But at the same time, everybody's trying to make a living. So the businesses are going to raise the money when it costs them more to ship stuff, or to bring stuff in, or to export stuff out. So I think it's not just one particular thing, but I think they need to kind of help the people, because the government needs to get involved and help the people, because I think they have more power than they think they do, or they don't do.
Well, who handles the inflation? The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics uses the Consumer Price Index to measure the inflation. They measure it by the surveys that businesses takes and its records from 80,000 consumer themes each month. The U.S. inflation rates have risen to 6.2% on October 2021, the highest it has been since 1990, which causes experts to worry. So with this information, I ran around and asked you for advice, and here's what I found.
Well, you just gotta be smart on your spending. Sometimes we may have to wait a little bit longer to get those brand new shoes or that new clothing. You have to be smart about it, save a little bit. That's why it's important that people try and save a little bit every check they get, and they're not just spending or living check by check. And now I know that's hard. There are families that's the only way they can survive. And in some of those cases, watch how much you're buying. Make sure you're not buying more than what you need. Make sure you're not throwing away a bunch of food because you didn't use it or it expired before. Be watchful on your wastefulness.
Advice for those people struggling financially is simply just you have to watch every penny and you have to decide the things that are important, take care of the needs, and make sure that the wants are sometimes taken care of, because when we don't take care of the wants, then we tend to overindulge when we do have money.
The advice I give is don't waste your money on school stuff, like those stands. Like, just go to Dollar Tree or Walmart.
To all the people who helped make this video. As you can see, inflation has affected many. And there is a lot of advice on how to save more money. From going on a budget to limiting how much you go out. And I hope this helps you get a better understanding on how inflation works. My name is Natalia Valdez, and we will see you next time.
That was pretty interesting to learn how it's going to affect us if it just keeps on rising. On the other hand, we have some band members who made it to state. How exciting! Marissa created a video on how all these All-Staters prepared and how they're feeling it about making it to state.
My name is Joey Zapp, and I'm a senior.
Sebastian Contreras, I'm a junior, and I play baritone saxophone.
My name is Santi Alvarez, I'm a junior, and I play trombone.
My name is Matt, I'm a senior, and I play timpani.
I mean, my biggest obstacle was probably the anxiety I had. You know, I had a lot of trouble sleeping and just practicing. I would always feel a lot of pressure on me because I want to be the best, and I know I worked for it, so I just wanted to prove that to everyone else.
Probably having to practice every day and knowing there's people in the area working as hard as you.
It's probably switching instruments a month prior to the audition from alto sax to baritone sax.
Probably learning the music and procrastination and just how hard the music was.
Probably when I made it, I was by myself, but when the paper went up, I was really happy. And then just everybody congratulating me, it was really cool.
Probably the hotel room or the mall in Odessa. That was pretty fun.
But the most memorable experience I had was probably the people, the friends I made along the way. I wouldn't be me without them. So it was a really fun trip.
I think it's a great accomplishment for them. They've been working really hard. We have a couple seniors, and we got 5 in total, and some juniors. But I think it's a great deal, especially for them. It's really hard to make All-State, especially in our area. For example, there's so many kids that are auditioning, and they'll only take like 1, or they'll only take 2. So to be at that level, I think it's just a great accomplishment. It's going to be exciting for them. We go to San Antonio for our TMEA, and they get to play with other great musicians. They get to see exactly what it is to be the best of the best. But I'm really happy, pleased with the results, and hard work does pay off.
Wow, congrats to you all who made it to state. It must be something you're proud of. Now, we all know how quarantine affected us with the whole no motivation to do anything. But how did it affect our teachers? Here's Angel and Joel with the story.
Hey Spartans, COVID has affected students in many ways, but this got me thinking, how does it affect teachers? So I decided to go ahead and ask a couple of teachers on how they say how COVID had affected them. Here's what I found.
Online teaching was very difficult. It was hard not having the students there. It was hard to engage with the students. And it was hard just not having that face-to-face communication and not being able to use the same resources that we would use in person. And I just don't feel like the kids got enough out of the experience as we would have liked.
Well, it was really difficult to teach online when COVID first hit because, first of all, nobody has their cameras on. So it's really difficult to see if students are actually understanding the material. In person, I'm able to see, if you have a confused face, if you're not doing your work, and so on. I can go to assist you one-on-one, right? I can also refocus you. So it's really difficult to teach in that sense. Also, it's not the same because for chemistry, we do a lot of labs, right? A lot of hands-on. So for those students that really learn from hands-on activities, it really didn't help them understand. You can do as many lab simulations as you want on set, but honestly, truly, it's not the same.
Online teaching was extremely challenging. It was all new to all of us, and from the teacher standpoint, we had a lot of issues with students who wouldn't log in, or they would log on to the class, but they weren't physically there. And just trying to create that teacher-student relationship, even though you don't know if their students are there or not. That was quite challenging.
I prefer teaching within a physical classroom because I can feel the connection between myself and the students better. I can gauge whether they're understanding the material or not better when they're in person. And I think that overall you can just build a better rapport with students when you can see them in person.
I'd rather teach in a physical classroom. I think that, like I said, building that relationships with the student is what helps create a positive atmosphere, which is, I think, where students learn best and where they feel most comfortable with, and that's where they are more academically successful.
Online's great, only because, well, I mean, both are great. Both are great. Online works great because once I figured out my system, I was able to reach a lot of students at one time. You know, even though we were doing sculpting or drawing, whatever it was, I have tablets at home where, you know, I can draw on screen, the kids can see me work, or I could say, hey, email me a picture of your drawing. I'll put it in here and you can watch me work over your drawing so you know what to adjust.
In school, it's still pretty tough. It's not impossible, of course, but teachers, we are still kind of trying to deal with closing the gap, being able to help those students close their learning gap that was created last year. But we definitely appreciate all the help that we've been getting from administrators, and we also appreciate the help from students that are willing to be here and that are willing to learn, and also parents. That definitely makes it a little bit easier on everyone. I mean, not just teachers, but just on the school culture as a whole.
So I do have a lot of past assignments when I'm revisiting what did I do last year, right? And it's a lot of Microsoft Teams forms, right? A lot of lab simulations. So now it's going back to what we did prior to that, which is a lot more labs. Again, funner. Funner is not a word. More fun. But essentially, it's just a way of adapting back. Also, I guess it's a little bit scary in the sense that people don't take care of themselves still, right? So there's always that what if we do go back to online, which I hope to forget in the long run.
At first, it was these questions of, you know, how am I going to keep my distance, but also show a kid how to adjust their sculpture, their drawing, what have you. You know, am I going to have to clean all the supplies, you know, after every class period? So there was definitely a lot of stress in that aspect. But, you know, after a while, as long as the kids understood, you know, you need to take care of yourself, you know, good hygiene, wash your hands. If you're going to wear the mask, wear the mask. I've kept mine on this entire time. You know, I try to wash my hands diligently. And I just felt like if we just covered those bases, we could, you know, treat the class just like a normal year.
Thank you to all the teachers who answered the questions and who helped to make this video. Peace out, Spartans.
Wow, you teachers had it hard, but I'm glad all y'all pushed through and tried to make it another great year for us. The last video on today's show is something that will most likely bring a smile to your face. This is your host, Ximena, signing off. Bye!
We all know we get bored sometimes and there's nothing to do, but that's why music was invented. The other day I decided to listen to one of my records. As I put that piece of plastic or whatever it's made out of on my record player, that's when I decided to enter my happy place and relax. And that's when something weird happened.
I'm a pretty boy living on the west side, living so loud you could never hear me cry. And I see no tears run down my eyes. Oh, these hills, they burn so bright. Oh, these hills, they bring me life. Oh, these hills, I'm a pretty boy living on the west side, popping blue pills and sipping on fire.
As Pretty Boy by Joji played, I began to envision myself as a pretty boy living in I think it's in the 80s vintage place thing. Whatever, I'm still a pretty boy.
I'm a pretty boy living on the west side, living so loud you could never hear me cry. See no tears run down my eyes. All these hills they burn so bright. All these hills they bring me life. All these hills, all these hills.
You are made of stupid